So my name is Sheralee Beebe. I'm from Canada originally and I live in California, and I work at a community pool and I teach all kinds of water wellness classes, and I have a private practice where I go to people's homes to work in their own swimming pools, or if they don't have a swimming pool, just work with them in their homes. I've been doing aquatic therapy since the 1990s. And I taught for the Aquatic Therapy and Rehab Institute for a whole lot of years, so I had the opportunity while attending conventions and teaching, I get to attend every new technique that's taught. I got to include that in my repertoire. I've also reached out into other modalities, Qigong, yoga, breath work, and whatnot, pulled all of that in for a more holistic view in aquatic therapy end of things. And aquatic therapy, of course, is absolutely amazing for, actually, this handout that I have is online, available for you. And aquatic therapy is absolutely amazing for, the sheet here, when there's pain that prevents you from doing land exercise, when you have a load-bearing injury that might affect your balance or your pain level. If your core, your strength, allows you to be unstable. If you have poor circulation, obesity, back surgeries, mastectomy, recovery, respiration disorders. Actually, I don't need to read all of these. A need for reconditioning your muscles, cardiovascular endurance training. It's absolutely great for fear of falling. So once your balance is affected, say by the effects of myositis in your leg muscles, and it prevents you from being comfortable or relaxed enough to participate in land exercise without fear, it creates a good alternative. A lot of people start to get pulled down by gravity over time. And when you're in water, that buoyancy effect helps to lift people up and allow your high beams to point straight ahead. So when you have fragile bones or muscle weakness, aquatic therapy. A limited range of motion and flexibility, aquatic therapy. A chronic pain. Sometimes people, the only time they're pain-free is when they're in the water. Joint replacements, diabetes, any arthritis or autoimmune disorder, the need just to improve your fitness, are all good reasons to get involved in aquatic therapy. So water has 6 qualities about it that give it a step up over other forms of exercise for myositis. Buoyancy, resistance, turbulence, hydrostatic pressure, thermal conductivity, and I think I got them all. So I'll start with buoyancy. Buoyancy is an upthrust of water. That water basically provides an environment that's gravity-free. Gravity holds the water into the swimming pool, but once you're in the swimming pool, that downward pull of gravity becomes less powerful, and the upthrust of buoyancy becomes much more beneficial. So when there's buoyancy, you get into the water, you weigh whatever's out of the water, that's what you weigh. The weight of your head, the weight of your neck, and top of your shoulders. So all of that weight is not causing compression pressure through all of your bones. So I'm a bit of a big girl. I have some weight that goes through my joints, and knee joints will compress, less joint space, and when the cartilage wears away, even less joint space, and you get bone-on-bone pain. Same with the hips, the spine. Every vertebrae needs space, and so that buoyancy, for the while that you're in the water, gives you space for blood circulation to flow in between the joints, and restores that space so that there's some cushioning between the joints and less pain. Buoyancy creates that upthrust that makes it easy to move when you're moving with buoyancy. So if I was to jog, for instance, that upthrust all of a sudden makes jogging really easy, and your weight is a non-issue. If you're working with needing to do cardiorespiratory exercise and you can't run on land, certainly running in the pool and using that buoyant support is really beneficial. When buoyancy creates space between all your joints, the spine in particular, it's really, really important to have blood flow easily move into the space between the joints of every vertebrae. So as we sit, there's a lot of compression pressure when we sit. It's sometimes even more so than when we stand. And that compression pressure really pulls our bones together. And when we're not moving, all the fluids tend to move away and everything settles and your bones get closer together. I always tell people it's really good to have glutes, because when you're sitting on a thin butt, all the fluids move out to the side. You end up sitting right on your tailbones. So it's really good to develop glutes. When you breathe, and also when you're in the water helps with this. When you breathe, your ribs are supposed to separate. And when the ribs separate, the bones in your spine separate. And then all the fluid flows in, and your discs are like a sponge, and they absorb all the fluid that comes by. And then when you breathe out, your rib bones come together, your spine bones come together, and all the waste products from cellular activity in the discs flow out. Most of us, when we live with a disease and a lot of stress in our life, we tend to not breathe properly. We tend to breathe up, breathe with our neck muscles, and we don't tend to have a lot of rib expansion and that nice space that protects our discs. So whether or not you improve your breathing, when you go into the water, that buoyancy allows all those fluids to flow in and help restore your discs for the time that you're in the water. Certainly practicing proper breathing is advisable for everyone, regardless of water. So buoyancy assists some moves and resists others. Gravity assists some moves and resists others. So being as how I live on land, there's gravity affects certain things. For instance, when I walk, I have to lift my heavy leg up against gravity. However, my heavy leg is assisted on its way back to the earth by gravity. So a lot of people have a heavy heel strike, and the leg just flops down. If you don't have a forward traveling gait where you use the muscles on the back of your legs for hip extension, then what we have is you lift your leg, these muscles work to lift, and then they drop down. So the muscles in the back side that do that work, pulling your leg down, do zero. So in a gravity environment, most of us, regardless of the disease state, will end up with strong, tight hip flexors and really weak hamstrings and weak glutes. Some people's glutes are so underdeveloped or lost that they've got no butt. which doesn't help when you need something to sit on. So when we're in the water, the absolute opposite scenario is true. This is assisted, so my hip flexor doesn't have to work really hard to come up in the water, which is good because our hip flexors are all too tight. You know, we sit and then we go to stand up and our hip flexors are so tight it takes a while to get all the way straightened up. But on the way down in the water, the buoyancy is resisted. Resists the downward motion. So we get an opportunity to rebalance from living on land. So it's a great cross-training modality. So any movement down in the water, we get to work on the muscles that are left weak from living in a gravity environment. And so then we get that nice balance restored so that we can start to accelerate in our gait. Most people, once we age, once there's some weakening, once the disease process starts, we start to get a small gait, we lose our push-off, we lose the ability to go upstairs, to climb hills and mountains, etc., because those muscles that send us up the hill are no longer strong enough to allow us to do that. So that's one of the benefits of buoyancy, is cross-training, so that we can re-equalize from our living on land. Water resists every motion. So just walking forward in water, all the water is coming at you. So it's hard to walk really fast in the water. And it allows strengthening of the entire body from your toes all the way up to the water level, to push that water out of the way to get your body to go through it. Now some people, when they get in the water, they walk like this, and there's very little resistance with the water. So one of the things I do is teach people how to walk properly in the water right away. Well, hands never float up here. Do we walk like that on land? Frankenstein walks like that. In the water, we walk like we do on land, but we're just pushing water with our arms in both ways. Really solid core where we don't have to bend. When we bend, we create a diagonal that allows water to slice away, whereas when we're in upright posture, the water hits you full, and you have to be strong to be able to move through it. Now, if I was working with a client that was really, really weak, they might not be able to withstand all those forces of the water coming at them, in which case I would hold their hands, I would walk backwards, all the water hits me, the water curls around, and I give them the support until they're strong enough to be able to walk on their own.
So what's the depth of the water do you recommend that you walk? Because I'm walking in water, but most of the time it's like...
That is a good depth. If you're walking a little deeper than that here, it's hard to really keep your heels on the floor.
Right.
So you need a little bit of weight going through your body so that you can not be on your toes, that your heels are down, and you have a proper gait, walking heel, ball, toe, push off. So yes, that's the better depth, and you probably feel that naturally as you go to that place. And the arms need to grab the water out in front of you and push behind. Tomorrow, I'm doing 3 pool sessions. The first one is at 9:30, and that is, people have seen the pool out there? The water looks lovely, crystal clear, so somebody's managing this water really well. So a nice opportunity to be in crystal clear water. The pool is a little smaller, so instead of, typically when I come to these conventions, I do actually pretty active workshops where people walk back and forth or jog back and forth across the pool. Won't be doing that tomorrow. When you're in water, having about 25 square feet of space, a 5-foot square around you, gives you enough room to move. So tomorrow we'll be doing more weight training or strength training we'll be doing more standing on the spot. I'm going to set up 4 rows of 5 people, and we'll focus on flexibility, range of motion, balance, and core strength for the 9 a.m. and 9:30 class. The 11 class, we're also going to do the 4 rows of 5, and we will be doing Qigong or Tai Chi, designed for water. It's called I Chi. And that works range of motion, breath work, relaxation, and flexibility. And then at 2 o'clock workshop tomorrow, I was hoping to attract all the lower functioning clients, say those in wheelchairs, and have a smaller group where I can focus more on hands-on treatments of, say, 6 to 8 people. So you can maybe pick your classes based on that information. I will be in the pool tonight after the convention is over from 9 until 10. If anybody wants a late night pool session, I'll be there to help. Same with tomorrow and a Saturday. I've been giving out my phone number or my room number so that people can book private sessions or semi-private sessions, and that people can book if they're struggling with choosing workshops. They need to take this one and can't actually be in the pool during the convention. Then I'm offering that freely.
So at 9, you don't need to book anything, you'll just...
No, I'm going to be there tonight at 9. I'll do the same tomorrow at 9 after the convention is over, giving people a little bit of time for dinner. So if you know you're not going to come to one of the pool sessions, yet you want to have an aquatic therapy experience while you're here, that's available. The lift is guaranteed to be working for tomorrow. I'm going to check and make sure everyone's unafraid here. Hopefully it'll be working tonight.
We can swim this morning. I don't think I can get out of either.
I think somebody just needed to charge the bloody battery.
Because my husband fiddled and
Yeah, me too. I went to find out because there's some, everybody's body is different. There's a long thigh, tibia. You're like right there, long tibia. There's people with really long from the knee to the foot that can't just get on any lift. There's some people here that really want to get into the pool. And I thought, whoa, great, those toilet lifts. That's fine, but they float. So as soon as you can get in the water, it's going to pop you off. That same gentleman said he drills holes in his at home and puts it on the public lifts so that he can use them.
you just keep it out.
Yes, I'm sure everybody will be able to get into the pool. Going down is a lot easier than it is coming up, and we'll need the lift for some of us.
I haven't looked at the pool, and if she says she can get in, what is there for you to get out if you're not using it?
There's basically 4 ladders, one on every corner of the pool.
It's not like steps going out.
No, they don't have steps. This pool must have been built a long time ago.
The other one has steps.
Or this.
One step is like giant.
Yes.
Can you get on that one?
It's like, who builds these pools? And do they think that everybody is like this? Even for children who use pools, that's not
Our community pool is the, zero entrance.
very nice. So hopefully the lift will be operating for us tonight. Also on Friday night and Saturday. Okay. So let's talk about safety in water. Once a myositis has progressed and balance is poor, maybe the legs are giving out, maybe the quadriceps aren't strong enough to hold you up. Exercising on land gets to be unsafe. You might need 2 people, or you might need special equipment that isn't always available. You might, you might need equipment or 2 people to hold you up. It's not sustainable. You need to be able to do an exercise program that you don't need a lot of expense of people or equipment to do. So the water provides all of that just for the price of the pool entry. So if you were to fall in the water, there's no hard landings. Nothing's really going to get injured. And if you're not water safe, it's ideal to get trained to be water safe falling. So if I was to work with a new client in the pool, we would practice falling forward, practice falling backward, and recovering. And same with the deep end. If you're doing deep water exercise, then have either a deep water belt or sitting on a noodle. It's really important to be able to control your verticality and make sure that you're safe. For people who aren't there yet, I just take a noodle and attach it together. Sometimes I put the rope through the noodle all the way, and then it's adjustable to fit any size body. So then when you fall over, the buoyancy gets hold of this flotation device, and it prevents your face from going in the water. And so all you have to do is stop your legs from floating, get them underneath you, and stand back up again. So the risks are so much less in the water, especially once the disease has progressed a little bit. So it's very safe, and you don't need anybody to hold you up if you've got any form of equipment. This is the cheapest there is. And these noodles cost about $3, and they're everywhere in the summertime. Safety. Let's see if I got it all. If you've had surgery, you get into the water usually about 10 or 15 days post-surgery, and you can put a bandage called Tegaderm over any incisions that will keep water out to prevent infections. So some people can get right back to the water right after surgery if they utilize those kind of bandages. So because you don't want to have big backslides when your health keeps stopping you from exercising. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. So post-surgery you can get back into the water quickly if your doctor says it's okay. So water therapy is done typically in warmer water. If you're really fit, you can probably go to the pool and exercise in a lane. Lane swimming temperature tends to be 78 to 82 degrees, which sounds warm, but it's surely not. Quite chilly. Recreational pools tend to be 84 to 87 degrees. 87 is lovely. Even lower functioning clients that don't have a lot of muscle mass to create heat in their body tend to do pretty well at 87. Even outdoors, the sun is shining. People tend to wear rash guards or the sun suits, long sleeves that help keep you warm. You wear a hat to help keep you warm, or leggings, yoga pants, the skinny ones, capris. So all that clothing works really well in the pool to help keep you warm. Ideally, if you find a pool 87 to 90 degrees, you will receive the benefits of that heat softening and relaxing your muscles. So all that tension that we build up from overusing the strong muscles that still work. So if the glutes have gotten weak, then my back is going to take the brunt of it. So then you might have really stiff low back muscles that are rock hard and won't let go for anything. If you've got really far forward head posture, your neck muscles will be they don't like holding a 25-pound head out here forever. It's really strenuous. So when we lose our proper alignment, and we have the effects of gravity, it's really hard on body parts and muscles. So we get the body in the water, that warm water just softens, deeply penetrates muscles, and they start to relax and let go of their tension. Once that tension goes, then blood flow goes through and delivers proper nutrition versus struggling to fight through tight muscles to do that job. It's
How long is the pool here?
the pool here, I haven't been in it yet. I went last night about 10 o'clock, right when they closed. And, but it will be warm. We've asked them to raise it up to 87. And the heat outside will help that 87 happen quite easily. So I think the water will be comfortable. Once that heat penetrates the tight muscles, they start to relax, and now they can stretch, and now you can work on your flexibility and opening up your joints a little bit. We need the body to open up. So as we age and as disease starts to take over the body, we tend to start to hollow out, shoulders tend to roll forward, chin tends to come forward, we tend to start to bend here at the hip. And all of this makes life pretty difficult to ambulate on land. So all of those things are really, really well addressed in the water. Certainly the upthrust of buoyancy really helps you to stand up straight. People who are severely bent over forward can wear something like this, and they'll just be floated up into upright position. Water has resistance in every direction except up. So upward thrust, we have the buoyancy. However, if we move faster than the speed of buoyancy, we have resistance. So one of my favorite moves in the pool that works the weak hamstrings and the weak glutes is the single leg back kick, lift the water, pull the water back down, kick on the other side and pull the water back down. So if I really pull in my abs, squeeze my glutes, get my shoulders nice and strong, and I really lift the water and pull it back down, then I'm working beyond the speed of buoyancy and I have work. It's that wine. Right? Yeah. And so you work beyond the speed of buoyancy. And so that makes resistance in every direction. Which is great because we can, when we work in a gym, we'll have one exercise for, say, the bicep. And if I want to work the tricep, I have to move my limb into a holding position and do a whole different exercise. In water, if I've got a barbell in my hand, or if I just make paddle hands, and I push the water down the back and push the water up, I get to work both muscle groups equally. So that's another benefit of water, is that both muscle groups in a group affecting a joint get trained at the same time. Whereas on land, because of gravity, we have to train one muscle and then get a new exercise to train the other muscle. So it's a great twofer. The water offers lots of twofers. And another example of a double benefit that water has is if we're nice and strong working in the water, it becomes cardiovascular. So we get to mix our strength training and our cardiovascular through one exercise for a double benefit. Hydrostatic pressure. So gravity pulls our blood down. Typically, our blood volume rests in our hips and our abdomen. There's a lot of blood around our intestines and in our thigh area. And our heart works hard to pull that blood up, then to circulate it around. When we get into water, Water is like wearing a full body compression hose, and it squeezes the fluids up towards the heart or towards where the water level is. There's lots of benefit that we can gain from that. Most people who are sitting in chairs, the wheelchairs, sitting a lot, our lifestyles require us to sit. Sitting on the plane, and people get really swollen up feet sitting on the plane. I've noticed a lot of the people rolling in the wheelchairs have really swollen feet and ankles. So edema is incredibly well treated in the water. You'll roll, say, down the ramp to a swimming pool, or enter into the swimming pool with fat ankles and fat feet filled with edema, and the hydrostatic pressure of the water just starts squeezing the body, and all the movement and improved circulation from the warmth and the hydrostatic pressure move that edema through for your heart and your lymphatic system to process it. And so the edema doesn't last long when you have a regular water exercise program. So it really treats, that's what we know. Hydrostatic pressure has a number of other positive effects on the body as well. And all these effects were studied years ago by NASA, because they had to create some kind of anti-gravity environment to study the effects of non-gravity on the body when the astronauts were in space. And so they did it all in swimming pools. And all the astronauts that they did the studies on were hooked up to machines that studied their blood pressure, their cardiac output, the levels of oxygen in their blood, et cetera, while being affected by water. And that's where all the information came from, letting us know how beneficial it was to be in water. So this the effect of hydrostatic pressure helps to reduce blood pressure. And the blood pressure stays lower for a good long time after you've left the pool. Hydrostatic pressure, that squeezing effect, brings the blood up to the chest, as I was saying earlier. So your heart, when that blood is brought back by the veins to the heart, the heart opens and fills, and then the valve closes, and then the blood is pumped through. Well, when that extra volume of blood is up here in your chest, your heart opens, and it tries to close, but it can't, because there's still too much blood there for it to close against. The pressure is too great. It has to be equalized first. So the heart it stays open longer, fills more. So the heart actually expands and takes on about 32% more blood with every single heartbeat when you're standing in chest depth water. This is called Starling's Law, and it's the only way known to man where your cardiac output can improve by 32% without any stress to the heart, which is a tremendous effect for the body when the heart pumps that 32% more blood out the other side. And now that blood, not only is it a good strong contraction for the heart, which is good muscular training for it, but it also pushes more blood into all those tissues and joint spaces that are now available because of the water. So improved circulation is, 5 stars in the water. Blood circulation improves with any exercise, but of course the effects of water, it's much more improved than that. Okay. So the heart slows down because of that longer filling time, and the heart rate drops 10 to 17 beats per minute. So when you're exercising vigorously in water, you don't get the same high heart rates that you would on land. So there's a built-in safety component that if your heart can't handle those high heart rates and you're on beta blockers to keep your heart rate low, it just nullifies that high heart rate. Turbulence. So when we move through water, the water is constantly moving and moving around us. So the skin, or sensory receptors in our skin, feel all that turbulence. So as I walk through the water and the water starts swirling around every body part, it's perceived by the skin, and the brain sends more blood out to the periphery because of the stimulation that's perceived there, which is great because it helps encourage blood flow out to the skin, and healthier blood flow to the skin is beneficial. Turbulence. Turbulence not only works to improve sensory input, but it creates a lot more resistance and chaos in the water that we use on purpose. So say for instance, if I was to walk through the water like this, I would disturb the water very little and not create any turbulence at all. Or if I was to walk through the water, gathering it up and pulling that water in front of me, it challenges my stability, it creates all kinds of resistance, and the water moving in every direction makes my brain have to figure out which muscles to fire up. How do I hold my body in the midst of all this chaos? So if I'm doing that, standing on one leg and moving all the water around, now I've got mega challenges for balance and proprioception for balance. And it's just super great for training core strength and training the brain to understand where the body is in space. All right. Any questions? Yes.
How often do you recommend that someone does water therapy?
Because water therapy involves a regimen of changing in and out of a bathing suit, maybe using a public change room, it might not be advisable to do it every day if your time is limited. So 3 days a week is awesome because it's enough exercise where it keeps you moving ahead. Once or twice a week is helpful. It helps you with maintenance, helps prevent losses of fitness, but 3 times a week is way better. And once you have myositis or other inflammatory autoimmune disorders, it's important to exercise daily. So on the days that you're not working out in the pool, you might have a home program, might be focusing on flexibility. Flexibility you definitely have to work on every day of the week. Strength training 2 or 3 days a week. Cardiovascular training 2 or 3 days a week for your maximum benefit.
Like if you already have osteoporosis from the steroid use, they always say that you need to have some kind of, for that osteoporosis to get better. Do you get that at all in the swimming pool?
A good question. Osteoporosis clients do go to the swimming pool a lot to prevent some of that pounding that can help to fracture bones.
Mm-hmm.
There are some precautions with osteoporosis in the water. One, it would be aggressive rotation. It needs to be monitored. But bones do improve in water because, as an example, remember I was talking about the leg in gravity lifting the heavy leg. Well, when we're in the water, that leg comes up really easy, but we have to fire up all of our muscles to pull it down. Otherwise, it's a real slow descend down, and then your timing is off for your gait. So you're kind of forced to fire up all your posterior muscles to keep your gait in good timing. So that heel strike in water tends to equal the heel strike on land to a certain extent, depending on how powerful your walk
But
is.
without the
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah, and a tennis player, for instance, their racket hand, the bones are about a full third more dense on the racket hand. And the racket hand is not load bearing, you're not walking on that hand. It's the ball hitting the racket and the muscles pulling on the bone. So whenever you have really good action of muscles pulling on bone, where the muscles attach to the bone lays down more bone to strengthen your attachments. So starting out gentle and gradually working up to being stronger, and for everyone, learning the ability to globally recruit or massively recruit your muscles for every activity that you do. So when we walk, for instance, we might use our leg muscles, but our postural muscles could be, right here doing nothing, but letting gravity hold our feet to the ground, and because our bones are stacked one on top of the other, we're kind of held together, but without muscle activity. And a lot of us walk with soft bellies and soft posture. And so taking that, when we're in the water, we have lots of opportunity to massively recruit. So an example being, say I have a wide stance here, bend the knees. If I lock my knees and stand up straight in the water, I'm using my bones for my stability. And a lot of times on land, we'll just lock our joints, lock our knees, lock our hips, and we'll use our bones to hold us upright. And so in the water, when I'm working with people, I get everybody to bend their knees and bend their hips a little bit. We're using our muscles to give us our stability, not our bones. Because when we're always using our bones for stability, there's bone on bone, wear and tear, and the cartilage gets thin, and then before you know it, you have another condition of osteoarthritis, which most of us have over the age of 40 to some extent. Any other questions?
Do you get the same effects from the hot tub, like you were talking about warm water?
Studies show that just sitting in a hot tub is better than just sitting in a chair, because the effects of the increased blood circulation, the relaxation of the muscles, the peripheral stimulation of the skin surfaces, all of that happens in a hot tub. And there's a lot of exercises you can do in a hot tub. You can certainly sit to stand up in a hot tub, and you can do that in a wide stance and a narrow stance. And you can, do knee lifts, knee extensions. You can sit tall and power move the water, push the water. See, this move makes the body fall forward. But if you're really strong and stable, you can resist against flying is the opposite action, Newton's law of inertia. You can work Newton's law like crazy in the water. Okay. So the hot tub is good. It's great if you can have some room to move, and it's also great if you can include some deep water, because in deep water exercise, we don't have any deep water here, so I won't be teaching any tomorrow. But deep water is awesome because you don't have, the effects of gravity so much, but you don't have your feet on a solid surface. So to not be seaweed, you have to get that strength and stability from your core. So it basically forces you to stabilize. And we need to be really strong in the core, because when we're weak on our extremities and they can't do as much as they used to, having a strong core stabilizes them so they are less prone to injury and they're getting their strength and support from elsewhere. So in myositis, if your quads are getting weak, let's really make sure your hamstrings and your quads are strong, so that one side of the bone has got some strength and stabilization. Any other questions?
Without installing like a chairlift, or is there any other tools that you use to get people out of the pool? Right now we use a bathroom step, for the bathtub. We just put it in to make the step shallower, and take smaller steps, and just move it. So, I didn't know if there was any other tools to help.
There's a lot of lifts on the market, and sometimes they're very expensive. Like one of the best lifts is called a Pool Pal, and I think it's running about $7,000 delivered to your home. I've found lifts on Craigslist because a lot of older people need aquatic therapy. If they have the financial means, they're building pools in their own yard with a lift. When that person passes, then all that equipment that they have is being sold off really cheap. Estate sales are a great place to find power wheelchairs, shower chairs, etc. So reaching out and looking in other places rather than new product is.
I just didn't know if there was any meat that you might use, like if they just needed the help. Because my husband does fine using the little steps, it's just like helping him get out the last bigger step. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if there's any.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a quadriplegic that has a vertical pool in her yard. Have anybody heard of the vertical pool? It's the pool costs $10,000 installed, so that's pretty cheap for a swimming pool. It's 5 feet deep. It looks like a teacup sitting on your lawn. It's not very substantial, but they dig a 5-foot circular hole into your lawn, and so it has deep water, and it's only this big, so you can do full range of motion in it. It has a long end, so you can lie fully supine or prone. It's got a little apparatus as an accessory where you can lay on it and do full swimming, back crawl, front crawl, etc. But anyway, it has some metal over the top where lifts can be installed on it. She hasn't. She's slithers on her belly so she's obviously quite creative to be able to get into the water. She uses the water about 3 hours a day, and as a quadriplegic, she can walk about 80 steps. She drives a vehicle, dresses herself, cooks her meals, etc. All from doing aquatic therapy day in, day out for years and years. So a lot of times the medical community, physical therapy services will give up on you after 15 visits. If you're not better in 15 visits, the therapy stops. Really with chronic conditions, your lot in life is to be doing exercise forever on your own, and the only time you'll get to get physical therapy is if you have a fall and you injure something new, or your disease backslides and you re-qualify for another 6 weeks of therapy. So it's something that you have to embrace and do forever, or you know what we feel like when we don't move. It's stiff, and it affects our happiness and our mood and our relationships with people. So we really gotta do it even if it's hard. Yes?
How would you find somebody like you? I mean, what do you look under, like,
Where do you live?
in the Houston, Texas area?
there are aquatic therapies all over Texas. There's an association called the Aquatic Therapy and Rehab Institute, ATRI.org, and they have an e-list where you can go on and post that you're looking for an aquatic therapist in a certain area. Now, getting onto an e-list means you've got to sign on with a bit of a profile, and so if that's a cumbersome thing that you don't want, because then you'll get all these emails that don't relate to you, feel free to email me. It's just my name at gmail.com, Sheralee Beebe. And my email might be also in the leaflet. My cell phone is 650-305-9100, and you can call and ask for assistance, and I can, there may or may not be people in your area, but posting on that e-list will certainly pull them out if there are.
Okay, well, thank you.
Anything else?
Well, it's interesting having a wine party and then going back to workshops. I think the glow is gone now. I hope I didn't slur. Anyway, that cell phone number that I just gave out, if you're looking for a private or a semi-private session, any other time outside of the convention, I'm happy to do that for people. So if those group times tomorrow, 9:30, 11, and 2 don't work, then connect with me. I'll be in the pool tonight at 9 and tomorrow.
What was your cell again? Sorry.
305-9100, it's area code 658. Or leaving a message in my room, 512. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. I hope to see you in the pool. You can have this one. The handout, by the way, is online. If you go on the convention, the handout will be there. And if it's not, email me and I'll send you the link.